So, the first big macro picture or economic picture that I want to talk about is inflation and specifically what is going on with prices of cars, new cars, used cars, and how that's impacting all of us. And a lot of this is based on a really thoughtful paper published by KPMG, Gary Silberg, and I will post this in the show notes. Please read through it, it's fascinating. So, obviously, March 2020, the pandemic hit, and then production of cars went way, way down. And to make matters worse, in Q4 2020 and Q1 2021, there were some significant fires at two semiconductor plants in Japan. That was a major supply hit because you need semiconductors for cars. To compound things, ports around the world are not working properly. You have delays there, including around North America. So you've got this triple whammy effect in terms of supply for cars. Supply is way down while demand is going way up. So that's driving the price of new cars up. So it seems like people then moved from the new car market into the used car market. And at the same time, a lot of rental companies were actually hanging on to their supply of used cars because they couldn't get new cars either. So the used car supply goes down about 17%. And in the meantime, demand is still surging. So you got this drastic increasing price. So what's happened? Basically, year to date, prices of used cars have increased 42%. Prices of new cars have increased 12%. So you've got a 30% differential there. And we know what typically happens is when something rises really, really fast, it tends to be what crashes harder. So the question that everybody is asking right now is when are prices of new and used cars going to normalize? So a few proposals were put out in this KPMG paper. The best case scenario seems to be Q4 2022. And this is based on supply returning to normal and perhaps demand decreasing. What if we enter a recession? What if consumer confidence is shot? That argue for decreasing demand, I'm not so sure I believe in it because we will always need cars to get around, to commute, so I think that demand stays steady. The worst case scenario is that prices maybe normalize in Q4 2023 based on this paper. And this would mean that supply for semiconductors and cars is a little bit slower in returning to normal, and demand for cars continues to be strong. And then the other scenarios fall somewhere between Q4 2022 and Q4 2023. So, what does this mean for all of us? Well, if you're in a situation where you have a car lease that's coming to an end, well, it gives you some options. And so for this, I kind of have to thank one of my good friends, Ali Purjabar. He's a cardiologist in Kitchener. And he was talking to me about this a month back when we were with our families at the Ontario Science Centre. I told him that my car, a Mazda CX-5 2019 model, its lease is coming to an end. And he pulled out Auto Trader and he said, dude, your car could fetch about mid 30,000s, $35,000. Go home today, check the residual value on your lease. I did that. It's $22,000. So it poses some opportunities here. So he essentially said, well, you could buy the car out, you could drive it for a few years, and then sell it at a more average price, essentially driving it for 1 to 2 years free. You could buy the car out, drive it forever, or consider negotiating the difference in the residual on the lease and the fair market price and try to incorporate some of this into your next lease. So I've been a serial leaser and I'm certainly considering all my options, but food for thought, guys. I mean, if you guys are in a situation where you have a car lease that is coming to an end, it poses some pretty interesting scenarios. So that's why I think it's important to be aware of what's going on around us, having knowledge of it, and incorporating this into our day to day and helping us make decisions. And hopefully, for people looking for new cars, things do return to normal faster.